With the exception of that one time I upgraded from Windows 98 to Windows Millennium Edition, and then immediately back again, I haven't experienced tech whiplash quite as harshly as I have with Apple's MacBook Pro.
5 years ago, I made the MacBook Pro 2015 the foundation of my production pipeline. I logged thousands of hours on it, building hundreds of YouTube videos. It had all the ports I needed, and it was rock-solid reliable. I didn't covet it like I do flashier laptops, but I valued it a lot more, because every day I woke up for work, I knew I could rely on it.
And then Apple did something interesting. It took everything I loved about that 2015 model and ruined it.
The ports, gone. The reliability, lost, along with half my keystrokes on that notoriously fragile keyboard. From shot speakers to thermal throttling to backup failures, the 2016, 17, and 18 models were varying flavors of compromise that I came to detest. It was only my love for Final Cut Pro, the software I use to make these videos, that prevented me from jumping entirely to Windows.
Now, Apple didn't give me back my ports or remove the touch bar for the 2019 MacBook Pro, but the changes it did make were enough. I'm Mr. Mobile, and for the first time in 4 years, I finally feel like I'm home.
Now, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel or Twitter feed, maybe you've missed my last few years of complaining about those old MacBooks Pro. Suffice it to say, when I bought the new 16-inch model, I felt obligated to give Apple a fair chance to redeem itself. So not only did I decide to wait until I'd used it for at least 3 months to review it, but I maxed it out. Every spec on this machine is as good as it gets, which means the final price tag is nothing short of outrageous. But even here, there's a silver lining. Apple doubled the storage options for 2019, which means I got 8 terabytes of SSD for the same price that would have gotten me just 4 terabytes last year. And while 8 million bytes might sound like overkill, it's actually evidence that Apple's getting back to serving professionals. You might have noticed that I tend to reference a lot of my older videos in my content. Well, with this much storage, I'm able to keep much of that old stock footage right on my machine, in the original 4K resolution, instead of carrying around extra hard drives or trying to download it over a slow public connection when I'm on the road, which is like always. It's the first time in a long while I can say the MacBook just makes things easier.
The same goes for this webcam. While I'd still like better optics, the new microphone array makes it possible, if I need to ditch the sound booth and record my podcast or whatever, wherever I happen to be. I mean, certainly, it's not ideal, but at least it's not the acoustic disaster that it would have been on a prior MacBook.
Speaking of disasters, that terrible keyboard has been totally redesigned on the 16-inch. I put my hands on this thing, and that full millimeter of springy travel under these scissor switches instantly takes me back to the feel of my first MacBook Pro 2015. I can't put into words just how big a relief it is to just use my keyboard without the fear of double taps or missed keystrokes. Now, after 3 years of hating life on the old broken keyboards, I'm reluctant to praise Apple for simply reverting to the old reliable design, so I'll put it this way instead. I'm very grateful the company did. Sadly, I can't say the same about the touch bar. While it's handy for when I need to break out the calculator or the screen recorder, it still mainly gets in my way. I accidentally brush against it a few times a week, usually auto-completing the wrong word, and even after 4 years, it still occasionally hangs. If I'm going to put up with weird bugs, I'd at least like a proper second screen, like Asus built into the ZenBook Pro Duo. Or hey, why not just make the main display a touchscreen, like most high-end Windows machines? As it did for the latest generation of iPhones, Apple went bigger and heavier with the MacBook Pro 16, but you know, I don't mind. In exchange for the added size, we get a larger display by a little over half a diagonal inch, and more space for the speakers, which are the best I've heard on a laptop. And in exchange for the added weight, we get the biggest battery you can legally carry on a plane, a touch under 100 watt-hours. Now, you're probably not going to hit Apple's promised 11 hours of usage unless all you're doing is watching video on a loop, but I've found it can get me between 5 and 7 hours even when I use it pretty heavily. I've never had much to complain about when it comes to the MacBook Pro's performance. You can check out the deeper dive from Rene Ritchie for some harder figures, but from day-to-day responsiveness to 4K edits, what can I say? This machine just flies all the time. Take everything I just said and combine it with Apple's ecosystem advantages. Easily sharing files with AirDrop, easily drafting your iPad as a second screen. And really, the only thing I have to complain about is the cost, and you don't need to max out your computer like I did. There are obviously options below $6,000. Well, actually, I do have one more complaint, and it's that this kind of looks like every other MacBook. But you can fix that with help from today's sponsor. Dbrand makes quality vinyl skins at a fair price. They're easy to install, and they offer lots of options beyond my slick marble one, thanks to surprise visitor Supersaf for modeling his stealthier brushed black option here. Hit the link in the description to get your own, and thanks to Dbrand for sponsoring this video. Maybe those conventional looks betray a deeper truth. Maybe, you might say, it's not worth getting the new MacBook, because isn't it just yesterday's keyboard slapped onto some updated specs? You know, as much an oversimplification as that is, I can't really disagree with it. And I admit that the biggest reasons I enjoy this machine wouldn't even exist if Apple hadn't had 3 years of misfires. You can hear it in my voice, the frustration those caused, the wasted time and money, those bad feelings will linger for a while. Also, Apple's cloud-based services still impede me far more often than they assist, and for the sake of thoroughness, the 2019 line isn't without issues. There was a widely reported random shutdown bug back in December, and if you still need to use USB hubs like I do, your experience will vary with the quality of the accessory. I still miss my SD card slot every day. But, broadly speaking, as someone who uses the MacBook as an everyday tool to get work done, it's a wonderful feeling to have faith in that tool again. If you're a macOS-based mobile professional and you need to buy a new laptop in 2020, the Pro is finally back in the MacBook. This video made possible by a MacBook Pro retail unit purchased by Mr. Mobile. As always, I don't produce paid reviews. The lone sponsor of this video is Dbrand, and Apple was given no copy approval or early peek at this review. That means they're seeing it for the first time right alongside you. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more reviews like this. Until next time, thanks for watching, and stay mobile, my friends.